Tory Burch, who sent me these pants. They're like workout pants. I worked out this morning, but I want to thank Tory Burch for sending that to me because it's very nice.
Rachel Zegler's London stage debut in Evita is flopping, and it's telling a much bigger story than just a failed show. What was once hyped as a powerful comeback, a redemption arc meant to restore her credibility, is now quietly unraveling under the spotlight of the prestigious London Palladium. Empty seats, discounted tickets, a hush that fills the grand hall where thunderous applause was once expected. The moment that was supposed to rewrite her public image, to shift attention away from the Snow White backlash, is slipping through her fingers faster than anyone could have imagined. For months, industry insiders and fans alike whispered that this would be the turning point, that Rachel, away from the chaos of social media and studio politics, would finally remind everyone why she was chosen in the first place. That her undeniable voice and stage presence would silence the critics and reframe her as the talented, misunderstood performer she wanted to be. But each passing night tells a different story. The applause fades quicker, the crowds grow smaller, the silence between scenes feels heavier. Inside the theater, the energy is still almost uneasy, as if even the audience doesn't know how to feel anymore. Because this isn't just a struggling performance, it's an uncomfortable truth. The very audience she once charmed, the same people who defended her online, who believed in her rise, simply isn't showing up anymore. And maybe, just maybe, the issue isn't her talent or her effort. Maybe it's what this entire moment represents. A rejection not of Rachel herself, but of what she symbolizes in today's Hollywood. A system obsessed with instant success, viral fame, and the illusion of perfection. A culture that takes young talent, crowns them overnight, and then watches them crumble under impossible expectations. Rachel's rise was meteoric, maybe too meteoric. From singing covers on YouTube to being handpicked by Steven Spielberg for West Side Story, she bypassed the long grind that most performers endure. No small roles, no years in obscurity. One audition, one viral clip, and suddenly she was Hollywood's next big thing. The dream every young actor chases, but one that comes with a price few are ready to pay. Because when the industry builds you up that quickly, it's not out of love, it's out of opportunity. And when the tide turns, it turns hard. Now, that once-in-a-lifetime opportunity feels like a double-edged sword. Instead of proving her range, Evita has become a reflection of everything that's gone wrong. The critics aren't just reviewing her performance, they're reviewing her persona, her reputation, her entire public journey. Each headline, each whisper carries the same message. Rachel Zegler isn't the underdog anymore. She's the case study, the warning sign. And in a way, Evita has become the perfect metaphor. A story about ambition, image, and the fragility of adoration. Themes that now mirror Rachel's own career. The spotlight that once made her a star now feels like a microscope. Every note, every gesture, every audience reaction adds to the narrative being written around her, one she no longer controls. This isn't just about a flop. It's about what happens when the industry moves faster than the people inside it can grow. Rachel's story is still being written, but for now, the stage lights are dimmer, the applause quieter, and the message clearer than ever. Fame burns brightest, right before it fades. Rachel Zegler's rise to stardom was nothing short of meteoric, but it was also dangerously fast. There were no years spent honing her craft in indie films, no supporting roles to gradually earn the trust and love of audiences. Instead, she was thrust into legacy franchises and billion-dollar stakes almost overnight. On paper, it looked perfect. The world's newest star, fresh, talented, and ready for global acclaim. But in reality, the audience never had the chance to truly connect with her. Then came Disney's live-action Snow White, the role that was supposed to cement her as a household name, the pinnacle of a carefully constructed trajectory. Instead, it became a PR disaster. With a production budget north of $300 million and global box office numbers barely crossing $200 million, the film didn't just underperform. It flopped spectacularly, turning into both a financial misfire and a cultural flashpoint. And while critics consistently pointed out that Zegler's acting wasn't the issue, that she delivered her lines with poise and precision, it was her public image that became the story. Press interviews, intended to humanize her and show her perspective on the iconic role, backfired. She described the original Snow White as weird, questioned the traditional romance at the heart of the story, and openly dismissed the prince. Statements meant to sound modern and empowered instead came across as smug, aloof, and disconnected, particularly to Disney's core, long-standing fan base. The backlash was instant, vicious, and viral. Memes spread across social media, YouTube breakdowns racked up millions of views, and Twitter X threads dissected every word she said. Overnight, Rachel Zegler went from promising young talent to the face of a failed rebrand. She didn't write the script, she didn't direct the film, but in the court of public opinion, she became the scapegoat. Even the theater world, once seen as a sanctuary for raw, authentic artistry, seems to be shifting away. The London Palladium, a venue known for legendary performances and standing ovations, should have been her redemption stage, a place to prove that talent alone can shine, without CGI green screens or overproduced spectacle. But as the lights dim and rows of empty seats stretch across the hall, the silence speaks volumes. This isn't just poor ticket sales. It's a reflection of a much deeper problem, a growing disconnect between the stardom Hollywood projected onto her and the audience's willingness to embrace it. What was meant to be a celebration of Zegler's raw talent has quietly transformed into a judgment on her public image, the speed of her rise, and the unrealistic expectations placed upon her. In many ways, Rachel has become a case study in the pitfalls of modern fame. Hollywood pushes young, unseasoned talent into major franchises not because of earned experience or audience connection, but because of viral fame, diversity optics, and industry buzz. But audiences today aren't buying the illusion. They crave authenticity, depth, and performances that resonate with lived experience, not another carefully packaged personality shoved in front of a billion-dollar IP. And whether fair or not, Zegler has become the emblem of what happens when that formula fails. Industry insiders are already recommending a drastic course correction. The solution isn't another headline-grabbing role or another blockbuster aimed at proving her star power. What she needs now is space, breathing room to rebuild, refine, and reclaim her voice. Smaller, character-driven projects, indie films, ensemble casts, and thoughtful streaming series could provide the perfect environment. These are the projects where craft comes first, where actors can explore nuance, develop their skill, and gradually rebuild credibility without the crushing pressure of legacy franchises hanging over them. The foundation is there. Zegler has the raw talent and stage presence, but the weight of being forced into a global icon too soon was unsustainable. The Snow White remake should have been a guaranteed success, a timeless story with a built-in audience, a proven formula for box office wins. Instead, it collapsed under missteps in writing, misaligned messaging, and one of Disney's most tone-deaf marketing campaigns in recent memory. It's a cautionary tale not just for Rachel Zegler, but for Hollywood as a whole, a stark reminder that star power alone cannot substitute for experience, preparation, and, most importantly, the time it takes for audiences to truly connect with a performer. Truly connect with a performer. What was intended to feel empowered and progressive instead landed as something forced, disconnected, almost lecture-like, the kind of message that no one asked for and even fewer appreciated. The backlash hit fast, relentless, and merciless. And it wasn't because audiences feared change. It was because the film seemed to ignore everything that had made the original beloved in the first place. The tone felt off. The storytelling felt hollow. And at the center of it all, Rachel Zegler bore the brunt of the criticism. Her performance, in truth, may not have been the problem. She delivered her lines, brought her energy, and gave what she could to the role. But perception, as anyone in Hollywood knows, is everything. To the public, she became the face of disappointment, a convenient symbol to project their frustration onto, whether fair or not. Now, every decision she makes matters more than ever. Her next steps could define the trajectory of her entire career. This isn't just about acting anymore. It's about reconnecting with an audience that never really had the chance to know her. Every misstep, every poorly received comment, every awkward interview is magnified and shared across platforms in seconds. Whether she reemerges as a respected, grounded performer capable of earning back trust, or fades into the cautionary tales of Hollywood's rush-to-fame machine depends entirely on what she chooses next. As the fallout from Snow White grew, Zegler found herself trapped inside an echo chamber she couldn't escape. Every interview was clipped and replayed. Every gesture, every inflection, every carefully constructed statement dissected into memes, reaction videos, and viral posts. YouTube thumbnails labeled her with bold accusations. TikTok edits skewered her tone with sarcasm, speeding up or slowing down moments to make them feel absurd. Reaction videos racked up millions of views. Even the subtle movements of her hands, the way she tilted her head, the pauses between her words, all of it became content for public consumption. Some of the criticism drifted into cruelty, petty attacks that went far beyond professional critique. Yet by the time it reached that point, the damage had already been done. She was no longer just an actress delivering a performance. She had become a symbol, a stand-in for everything the industry gets wrong. The rush to fame, the pressure to perform, the way young talent is thrown into roles too big, too fast, and expected to carry legacies they have no time to earn. Beneath all the noise, a deeper truth emerged. There's a widening disconnect between Hollywood's carefully polished PR narratives and what audiences actually crave. Something real, something earned, something that resonates. And perhaps the most heartbreaking aspect of Rachel Zegler's current situation is how little control she actually had over the storm engulfing her. While studio executives, producers, and marketing teams quietly pivoted to the next big project, she was left standing alone in the public eye, forced to weather a storm that was never fully hers to command. Long after the cameras stopped rolling, long after the press junkets ended, long after social media moved on to the next scandal, she remained at the center, exposed and scrutinized, trying to navigate a whirlwind created by an industry that moves faster than any individual can. In the end, this isn't just a story about one film or one performance. It's a story about fame accelerated, perception weaponized, and a young actress forced to carry the weight of an audience, an industry, and a narrative she never fully controlled. And while the world watches and debates, one fact remains painfully clear. The silence between applause, the empty spaces in the seats, and the viral clips on endless loops are louder than any headline could ever be. What began as a few awkward press clips quickly spiraled into a full-blown crisis for Rachel Zegler, a moment that would come to define her public image for years to come. The backlash wasn't just the result of a single misstep, but rather the accumulation of many small ones, subtle tonal misalignments in interviews, the timing of her statements, the way her words landed, and the overwhelming perception that she had been overexposed too quickly without the steady, career-building foundation that most stars gradually develop behind the scenes. By the time Snow White finally premiered for audiences worldwide, it didn't matter how the film performed at the box office or how critics reviewed her performance. The verdict had already been rendered in the court of public opinion, and it was unflinching. Now, both Disney and the broader Hollywood system seem to be engaging in something they rarely do: reflection. In the wake of the very public misfires of Snow White and the lukewarm response to Evita, a quiet but noticeable shift has emerged. Behind the polished lights and studio announcements, projects are being restructured. Names that were once front and center on major studio slates are being removed, or at least slowed down. Rachel Zegler, once hailed as the face of a new era of Hollywood stardom, is no longer being fast-tracked into billion-dollar IPs or guaranteed headline roles. And this subtle pullback speaks to something far larger than one actress stepping back from the spotlight. It may signify the beginning of the end for an era of overnight stardom. The era where actors leap from viral internet sensation to red carpet royalty without the slow, painstaking groundwork most performers need to truly connect with audiences. The old formula, casting based on social media metrics, prioritizing viral appeal, press optics, or surface-level diversity over experience and craft, is beginning to show cracks. Audiences are changing. They want authenticity. They want characters that feel lived in, performances that are earned rather than engineered. They want stars who have gone through the struggle, who've been shaped by their craft and their experiences, not just by algorithms and PR campaigns. For Rachel, this is a defining crossroads. This could either mark the quiet end of a rushed, turbulent rise, or it could be the start of something more meaningful and lasting. A chance to step back, refocus, and rebuild, emerging not as a viral headline, but as a grounded, credible artist. That path will not come with the fanfare of billion-dollar budgets or hyped marketing campaigns. It will come through smaller, character-driven projects, independent films, ensemble casts, and streaming series, Spaces where the work speaks for itself, where craft takes precedence over hype, and where the actor can re-establish trust with audiences. If she chooses this path, it could become the most meaningful chapter of her career. The pressure she faced before was unsustainable. She was asked to carry the expectations of an entire generation of viewers, critics, and industry executives without ever being afforded the time to grow into that responsibility. Snow White was never just a movie. It was a test of branding, of messaging, and of cultural sensitivity, all rolled into one production. And when it faltered, Rachel became the face of the fallout, even though the deeper issues extended far beyond her performance. As the reaction intensified, she found herself trapped in a digital echo chamber. Every interview, every passing comment, every casual gesture was clipped, reposted, and dissected endlessly. TikToks mocked her voice, her tone, and even her facial expressions. YouTube thumbnails screamed with accusations. Entire corners of the internet were built around criticism of her. Some of it was justified, much of it cruel, but all of it stuck. And now the relentless noise is beginning to fade. What remains is a clean slate, one that will not be defined by PR strategies, viral fame, or algorithmic hype, but by how she chooses to move forward. Whether she fades or flourishes from this point on will not depend on studio deals, media attention, or the latest box office numbers. It will depend on her will